Cream Ray, your host at the One Soccer Nation podcast, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing Bruce Silverman. Bruce is now the Vice President of Broadcasting at Fort Lauderdale United. Bruce, thank you so much for taking the time today. How you doing?
Oh, I'm fantastic. I appreciate being with you. Always great to talk about soccer in South Florida, and specifically Fort Lauderdale United kicking off in August. So we couldn't be more excited about the USL Super League and our role in it, and we can't wait to get started.
Yeah, very exciting for the listeners and uh, people watching. Could you just share a little bit more about the United Soccer League itself with the Super League that they've just added?
Well, USL is a club. It's been a league for a number of years, and it's created really a fantastic soccer organization. On the men's side, you've got USL Championship, you got League One, you got League Two. There's academies, and for USL to want to invest and be a part of what's happening on the women's side of the game is tremendous. It's just absolutely amazing. And so USL Super League will kick off in August. There'll be 8 teams around the United States. There will be 2 in Florida, and Fort Lauderdale United is going to be the one that is the farthest south, and we hope is going to be, and we know is going to be the most exciting. And we've got so many amazing things going on right now, from the stadium, finalizing a local broadcast program. And we just know that the fans in South Florida, and specifically the fans in Fort Lauderdale, have been wanting professional soccer in Fort Lauderdale, with Fort Lauderdale in the name, and now to have a women's team for the very first time in the history of South Florida is incredible. And for someone who has grown up in South Florida for almost 50 years now, I cannot be more excited about this opportunity to lead the broadcast, and then when we kick it off, I get to call the action, and that's what I really love to do. So it's a really exciting time in soccer in general, in women's soccer, women's sports. I mean, look what just happened with the women's Final Four, in just the way it culminated with South Carolina topping Iowa and Caitlin Clark. And so this is an amazing time for women in sports, and it's an amazing time for women in soccer. And we can't wait to tell the story of Fort Lauderdale United and how we're going to, and how we are uniting the soccer community in South Florida.
I love it. I'm so excited for you, so excited for the community in Fort Lauderdale, and just Florida in general is such a beautiful place. The amazing weather. Again, congratulations to you on the new
Thank
position,
you.
Vice President of Broadcasting at Fort Lauderdale United. So you've been in the broadcasting space for about, a few decades. So could you just
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for making me feel incredibly old. I don't know what sounds worse, that I've been in broadcasting for 35 years or a couple of decades. But either way, I've been incredibly grateful and incredibly proud of what I've been able to accomplish in my career. Just starting as a sports anchor in Athens, Georgia, covering the University of Georgia sports, and the talk shows I've done, and the people I've interviewed, the relationships that I've made in this business. And of all the things that I've done, I mean, I was the voice of the Fort Lauderdale Strikers and the Miami FC, Orlando City, and now Fort Lauderdale United. And I have called matches for Univision and 2DNA, and I called MLS and Liga MX for them, and I still do Liga MX. And there's nothing better in my mind about being the voice of a club and bringing a club to the community and being involved in the community. And Fort Lauderdale United is already involved in the community. We just sponsored a local youth tournament. We're going to be doing more of these types of events. We're going to be getting the fans involved in what we do. But I just had so much fun as the voice of the Strikers and Miami FC and Orlando City too. For me to be able to do it again with another club is really what I'm all about. It's so much fun. It's so incredible to be able to tell the stories of the club, the coaches, the players, the office, the owners. From top to bottom, we're building a world-class organization with people that are just very, very dedicated to the game, very, very dedicated to our community. And like I said at the beginning of this, for someone who grew up in South Florida, this is incredible. And my first introduction, I've told this story many times, my first introduction to soccer was June 8th, 1977. Strikers Cosmos at Lockhart Stadium, which for me was my office for a number of years. So it was pretty incredible for that. But it was Pelé, Beckenbauer, and Canalia scoring in a 3-0 win over the Bumblebees. And I was hooked on soccer ever since. And the first match I ever called for the Strikers was Strikers and Cosmos over 10 years ago. So it brought my soccer experience full circle, and it kicked off what has been an incredible career in soccer and in broadcasting of soccer. Uh, the the experience is just second to none, and I cannot wait for us to kick off in August and put the headset on and introduce the world to Fort Lauderdale United.
That's exciting. I'm waiting for that invite to come out, watch, and listen. I'm excited.
Open. It's an open invite. It's an open invite to you, Kareem. It's an open invite to everyone. I don't care if you live in South Florida. I don't care if you live in Vancouver. I don't care if you live in Germany or Australia or down in South America. Everyone has an open invite to join us. We're building a state-of-the-art facility at Nova Southeastern University. The Dolphins for years trained at this facility, and then a few years ago built their own training facility over at Hard Rock Stadium, formerly known as Joe Robbie Stadium, and I like to give it its due. Pay a little hat tip to someone who had such an incredible um, influence on the game of soccer in South Florida. Joe Robbie and his wife Elizabeth, who was the former owner of the original Fort Lauderdale Strikers. And he actually built that stadium where the Dolphins play so that it could be the home of soccer, and it will be in just a couple of years. The World Cup will be being played at the Hard Rock. So that's pretty exciting. And I had an opportunity to work with Joe and Elizabeth's son, Tim, with the second incarnation of the Strikers. And that was a great experience. And Timmy is an incredible individual, an incredible soccer man, and he taught me a lot. And I'm bringing the lessons that I learned from him and others to Fort Lauderdale United. But going back to the stadium, we are taking over the facility that the Dolphins had. We have a grass field. It is going to be 6,200 seats with a supporters section. Stadium is going to have stands on the east and west side. We're going to have a full fan activation center. We're going to have a great food program. And I am putting together a broadcast that is going to be second to none. I don't care what league you're going to watch, you're going to see an exciting broadcast and a really great, great tight coverage of a club that is really going to, as I said before, we're called United for a reason, and we really want to unite the community. There have been a lot of tugging of the heartstrings in South Florida and specifically in Fort Lauderdale when it comes to soccer. And we're going to bring the stability that everyone has wanted for this community and for this game into one place, like I said, at Nova Southeastern University, which is central to Dade County, Broward County, even Palm Beach County. and we're hoping we're going to bring fans from all over the state of Florida. And like I said, we got an open invite. You in Toronto, anywhere else you want to come from, um, come and join us, and it's going to be an incredible experience.
Absolutely. When we talk about the word United, we even got another club, New Mexico United. There's other clubs around the world that use the
Oh,
word.
there's three in MLS alone, right? You've got DC United, the
Yep.
original '96 team. You have Minnesota United, and then you have Atlanta United. And you and I have had this conversation before about the use of the name United.
United. Yeah.
Um, and sometimes it doesn't seem to fit in Fort Lauderdale in South Florida with this club. It fits
Mhm.
because we want to bring the South Florida community together. We want to bring the soccer community together. And for the first time ever in this community, we're going to bring the women together, and we're going to bring the girls together. And it is going to be the ladies from Lauderdale that are going to be kicking it off. And like I said, I can't even hide my excitement, right? I really can't, because this is what I think this community has been jonesing for so long. And the fact that it comes in the form of first division soccer in the United States for women. I've heard from so many people who I know who have daughters that have played this game in this community or still playing this game in this community, and they've never had a women's team that they could look up to or they could go and watch. And now they're going to be able to do that. And they're going to see that the women can lead just as well as the men. They can, rise to levels that previously have never been possible. Um, because, you look at the success that the U.S. women national team has had, and that really, up until recently, never translated into a professional league in the United States that was stable and secure and growing. And we're joining the USL Super League, and Fort Lauderdale United are joining that movement. And I think it's going to be incredible. I have said for years that women's sports is on the rise, and specifically women's soccer was going to lead that charge. And I think we're seeing that right now. And now we're going to have two leagues in the United States that are first division, that are showcasing the greatest sport, and showing that women can compete and compete at the highest level. And I just can't wait for our club to continue to take shape, so that when we take the field and we start up in August, we get to showcase to the world that Fort Lauderdale is not only a member of the USL Super League, but we're going to be leaders, we're going to be competitors. And there would be nothing better that at the end of the season, we get to lift a supporter shield, and hopefully the big trophy at the end, and be known as the first title holders in USL Super League. And I would be remiss if we didn't even talk about the fact that not only are we going to be the first team in South Florida on the women's side, but the USL Super League is going to be the first league in the United States at any professional level, men or women, that plays on the global calendar. And that to me is absolutely incredible, because there's so many fans right now that have wanted that level of commitment from from the United States soccer community to play on the world schedule, and we're going to be the first league to do it. And I think what's going to happen is USL Super League is going to prove that you can play kicking off in August, taking a break around the change of the calendar, finishing up in June and crowning a champion. Then I think we're going to show the world that that's the proper way to play. And I believe that maybe in the next 5 or 10 years, you're going to see all the leagues in the United States follow suit, And that's going to change the game forever, especially in the United States, because once we get on the same schedule and the same transfer schedules and the same calendar, we're going to be able to bring better players to the United States. And I think the fact that USL Super League is going to lead that charge is absolutely amazing and a really bold move by the executives in Tampa to make the decision to go to the world schedule.
Yeah, that would be truly amazing. I mean, again, when we talk about United, the league itself has the word United, United Soccer League. It's such a powerful word it's in itself, and just so many things to be excited about in regards to the new club that you're a part of. Um, with saying that, you talk about players getting better players on the women's side. You know, especially on the men's side, we got Messi now in the United States with Inter Miami, which is huge, and we're
Just up the state and technically in Fort Lauderdale. So
right there.
yes.
And we're seeing the Messi effect. That's kind of a trailer in regards to what we're going to see in the next 2 years with the World Cup, right? The 2026 World Cup hosted by United States, Canada, and Mexico. With saying that, I'm interested to know, you guys are going to be pretty close to Inter Miami. You know, what challenges do you see there? Are there any challenges or
I think there's great opportunities.
an opportunity? Yeah.
First of all, Inter Miami has brought more and more attention to South Florida and the soccer community here. The Messi effect, it's in full force, right? I think one of the benefits that we're going to have is I think our price point is going to be better. So we're going to have the opportunity to open the game up to maybe some fans that would like to go and participate with Inter Miami, but have been unable to afford to take in those games. So I think that's one of the opportunities that we're going to have. I also think the fact that we're going to have a local broadcast is going to be an ideal situation for us, for the league. I think it is going to really resonate with our fans, especially the former striker fans that have, felt a little disconnected from the soccer community in South Florida. I've heard from so many of them. I think that I don't know necessarily that there are challenges. I just think that there's just far more opportunities for us. We're going to have a 6,200 seat building, so it's going to be intimate. It's going to be in a position where the fans are going to be a lot closer to the action. They're going to be a lot closer to the players. And we're going to have an opportunity to get involved in the community and keep going back to it, unite the community. Every email that I write, I sign off instead of sincerely or best or whatever it is. It's let's unite and unite in all capital letters, because that's how I really feel. Going back to that word opportunity, that's our opportunity, is to unite this community, united around, again, the ladies from Lauderdale. And I, I, I just know that this is a situation where being the first gives us great opportunities. And to be able to create this amazing organization within an organization in the USL in Tampa, to be able to really put together a world-class product and showcase the women's game, which I find is a very, very interesting game, because they're so technical. If you go to watch women play soccer, it's one of the reasons why the beautiful game is the beautiful game, because it's all about the strategy. It's all about the technical nature. It's about the way I like to describe it is, you ever watch women's basketball?
Never, but I was watching the Canada versus U.S. women's national team play last night, the highlights, and I've watched actually the United States national team, the women's national team on the Netflix documentary. So the product on the field has definitely gone better a lot.
Well, what I was going to say is when you watch women's basketball, it's a far more technical
Mm,
game than the game played by men.
mm,
For the most part, it's played below the below the rim. So you don't have the constant slam dunks and the alley oops. It's more the fundamentals of the game. And I think that's one of the things that we're really going to see in the women's game as well, is it's a far more technical game. And it makes for really, really beautiful soccer. And I can't wait to bring um, the Fort Lauderdale brand to the airwaves and to be able to tell that story. And I also want to make sure that we're not playing, paying tribute to, you had talked about the U.S. women's national team, and I've been fortunate to have a friend that I made back in my striker days who played for the original '85 team. Grew up here in South Florida, so we're going to pay tribute, and we are going to tell the story, and we're really going to strive to be top of the table and be the leaders of this league for years and years to come.
absolutely. You know, when we talk about the U.S. Super League, USL Super League, their goal is to create more jobs on the field and off the field for women. What are your thoughts around that? And I really love that opportunity for them. I think the last time we actually spoke, I mentioned changing the One Soccer Nation logo to pink, or adding a pink logo. And just to share quickly too with you, we added two female podcast hosts. They're twin sisters. They actually both played pro, one's in France, one's in England. So I'm interested to know what's your thoughts on that opportunity for more women, being able to work on the front office side of things of the game and on the field.
100%. I mean, obviously, all the players are going to be women. We are building out our organization. There are a number of women that have already joined the organization, and we'll be adding more. I think you're absolutely right. Um, the opportunities that are going to come for women in sports is tremendous. I think soccer is going to be one of the leaders in that. I actually saw, going back to basketball for a second, I think this is incredible, but I believe it's the Charlotte Hornets are going to be interviewing a woman to be their head coach, which would make for the very first time that a woman has been the head coach of any men's sport at the professional level in the United States. There's been some assistance, but I'm leaving soccer out of it for a second, but I'm just talking about the big four. So I really think that this is tremendous, and there should be more women in sports. I've met incredible over the course of my career. I've met incredible from coaches to players to office personnel to broadcasters. There are so many talented women that have really wanted to be a part of professional sports at regardless of the position. And unfortunately, up until recently, the opportunities really weren't there, or if they were there, they weren't at the highest level. You didn't see women as the presidents of teams until recently. The Marlins had a president who recently left, and now we're seeing more and more executives, um, and we're seeing more and more going into coaching, and we'll see them in communications, we'll see them in social media, we'll see them in broadcasting, and I think it's tremendous, and and I think it is well warranted, well deserved. It should be about a skill set and a knowledge and experience. And now the playing field is being limited. I'm sorry, is being leveled, and I use the word playing field as a little bit of a pun, but the fact of the matter is that we are leveling the playing field for women in sports, and we should have that because women make up 50% of our nation, and they are also, depending upon the sport, 50, maybe even 60, 70% of the fan base. So there should be, and it shouldn't be to make quotas. It simply should be, let's hire the best people. And I think we're finally at that point, and soccer has certainly been the leader in that over maybe the last decade or more.
Absolutely. You know, I've been in the podcast space for 4 years and in the professional space of soccer for the last 2 years. And I would say, especially the last year from 2023 to 2024, I've been really consumed by women in sport and just hearing a lot of conversations, especially on the investment side, and just watching more content, watching more games of women on the field. And, I'd bring this back to 2022, which for me, that I'm starting to hear more about women, watching more. Obviously, you've been in the game longer. What year would you say that these conversations were happening more frequently, and then they started to really take effect that you noticed in your career?
I would definitely say over the last 5, 6 years,
Yeah,
there's been a big rise, and I think it was a groundswell that was continuing. Um, if you look around the sports landscape in the United States, the WNBA were the pioneers, and that league continues to grow. Caitlin Clark is going to give it an enormous shot in the arm next year, but we've seen such incredible athletes on the basketball court. So you had that start, and then you tap into um, so much success on the women's side, women's national team, and the fact that they were able to and I think this is really the big catalyst, is the women were able to get um, compensation equal with the men at the national level. And I think that really was the big turning point, because you had the women who were winning titles and getting paid far less than the men who weren't winning titles. And so you had this one national team that was representing the country at the highest level and having the highest level of success, and yet they weren't on an equal playing field in terms of facilities, in terms of compensation. That's all changed, and I think that's one of the biggest reasons why you're seeing such a growth in women's soccer, and why you're seeing USL Super League coming into existence, is because that playing field, I keep going back to it, is being leveled. And as a result, more opportunities are coming. And so now you've got the 8 teams that will start in 24, 25 in USL Super League. And there's at least 8 more that are on the drawing board for the next couple of years. That would get this league into 16 or more within a few years of launch. That is an amazing situation. What that means, there are more opportunities for people to work for the clubs. There's more opportunities for women to play professionally. And we're going to be able to take the game to more cities locally, and more cities around the country that have wanted to have professional sports and haven't had the opportunity to get professional sports. And now we're going to go into those markets. We're going to bring the game to those markets, which means there will be just that much more interest in the game, in the league, in the players. And I just, again, 5 to 10 years, the women's side of soccer is going to be, in my opinion, the biggest growth opportunity, not just in soccer. I think it's going to be one of the biggest growth opportunities in sports, period, men or women's.
Hmm. Yeah, I could definitely see that projection as well. Um, when we talk about broadcasting and the setup, are you putting everything together for the club in regards to setup, equipment, team, everything?
So the good news is that the production is basically taken care of. So we have the production taken care of. My role is getting us a local broadcast deal, which we'll be able to put together shortly. Very, very excited about the level of interest that we've gotten throughout the community for that. I am helping to design and create the press box, which would include the broadcast area as well as the facility for the media that we're excited about coming. The in-house um, entertainment, the big board, field boards will all take place in that press box. So I'm really excited about working with the team and the construction company and the architects on that. And then after we get all of these things done between now and August, it's going to be how do we put together the broadcast, the look, the feel, the things that we do, and we're depending upon the partner that we get. There's different things that I would like to do during the season to enhance the broadcast and to bring more awareness to it. And right now, it's just a lot of balls up in the air all at the same time. I've only been on the job just a little over 10 days, but in those 10 days, we've made a tremendous amount of progress, created a tremendous amount of buzz and interest. Um, the sponsors that we're talking to, the companies that are reaching out and wanting to be involved in the club, it's incredibly exciting. I feel like I keep using the same superlatives over and over again, but they're all warranted, they're all deserved, and it just goes to show that this community wants this team. They have needed this team for a long time, and I can just see in my head what that very first home match is going to be, and the excitement and the colors and um, children wearing kits and their parents wearing kits. And if you'll indulge me for a second, and I've been a soccer fan, like I said, since 1977, and my club, I'm a long-suffering Toffees fan, and I was in Liverpool. I was at Goodison Park on decision day last year, and I was sitting around. Um, First of all, fans from maybe age 3 to probably 103, right? So that was incredible in and of itself. But so many of these young children that were going to this match with their fathers and their grandfathers and their mothers and their grandmothers and their aunts and their uncles who had probably been going to Goodison Park since they were 3 years old, and seeing them decked out in the colors and the kit. There was a little boy sitting next to me, and he went with the Jordan Pickford jersey. He had the kit on and the matching shorts and the high socks, and he was even wearing boots. Like I never would have thought to have gone to a soccer match, right, with boots on. Sneakers, yes. Boots, no. Head to toe, and I cannot wait to see young boys and girls, and I do anticipate there's going to be even more girls going to our matches than little boys. But I know the little boys are going to be just as excited to see these women play as as the girls. But for the girls to have these role models in their community, that's the game changer, because you're going to have little girls that are going to be 5 years old, 10 years old, maybe even playing travel and club in high school, and going and saying, I have an opportunity in just maybe even a few short years that I could play professionally in my hometown. And that's never been the situation in South Florida before. And I know a number of guys who grew up in Fort Lauderdale and ended up playing for the Strikers, playing for Miami FC. But this is the very first time we're going to see it for the ladies, and I think that's tremendous.
Yeah, Bruce, I think you definitely hit the nail on the head with that one because I know that feeling. Growing up in Canada, we didn't have a professional league to look up to until 2019, the CPL, the Canadian Premier League, came in. And, from the age of 16 when I decided I wanted to go pro, I was always looking outside. That was England, that was France, right? Um, or the US. And 2019, I had to make a decision whether to stay in Canada or go to France. I ended up choosing France. But again, going back to your point, for women to say, wow, I have a professional team. I'm currently 16, for example, and I'm a few years away from actually trying to go pro, and there's actually an opportunity here in my backyard that I could make that dream a reality. So absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, and to that end too, if you'll indulge me another time, if any women are interested in trying out for our club, all they have to do is go to www.ftlutd.com, and there is a place where you can set up to participate in the tryouts. We're certainly scouring the globe. That's the other really cool thing about this league is there will not be a draw. Every team can not draw draft. Every team can go out and sign their own players, and we're scouring the globe, and we're going to find the best players. And if we can find them in our backyard, even better, because we want to, have homegrown talent. And that one of the ways that you really reach out to the community is saying, here's a member of our community who's grown up in this community, played in this community, is now going to play professionally in this community. But anybody who's watching this, doesn't matter where you are in the world, go to our website and fill out the information to get to the tryout. And best of luck to everybody who does that. But I wanted to get that information out there for any woman that's looking for a professional career in this game. The opportunity's there.
Yeah, and there's actually, just thinking about it now, there's actually a showcase that's coming up in Oshawa. I'm not too sure if you know about it. Sanford, um, he coached the Jamaica's women's national team. He's been in the women's game quite a bit. He's hosting a showcase. I'm not too sure who exactly from your organization is going to be there, but it's someone from your club, someone from Tampa, and another club. So they're hosting a showcase. I'm gonna look for it after, but they're hosting a showcase out in Oshawa. I was actually invited to it, so it's exciting. There's stuff happening in Canada to bring talent to the U.S. And actually, I should find it. Okay, so I got the information here. Shout out to Sanford Carabin. He's a partner in Power Her. He's also a coach at the women's Jamaican national team. They're hosting a soccer showcase for women age 18 to 29. It's called Who Is Next Combine Showcase. That's going to be happening in Oshawa, Ontario. And again, Fort Lauderdale's scout, someone from the company that's going to be there, from the club, from the Tampa club and USL Soccer Super League, and another club. But super exciting, again, when we talk about opportunity, there's an opportunity happening in Canada. I'm not too sure where else, but Bruce plugged in as well. But going back to you, Bruce, was there anything else that you wanted to plug in regards to the club, tickets? Where can fans get tickets?
On the website, we've opened up for fans to put down a deposit, and then more information to come from there. Anyone who is interested in being a sponsor, whether it's on the broadcast or just a sponsor in general of the club, please reach out to me, and I'll get you to the appropriate person. Go through the front office. We're looking for every single way that we can to present this team and this sport in the best of ways, and everyone is welcome at our matches, and everybody is welcome in getting involved in our club and in our community. And going back to it, we want to unite. We want to unite the soccer fans. We want to unite the community. We want to unite the sponsors to come on board and help us really turn this into not just a women's club, but an elite women's club, and not even just an elite women's club. We just want to be known as an elite club in soccer in the United States. And I have all the faith in the world with the team that is assembled and the the founders and between Tommy Smith and Dion Graham, I think, the leadership is there, the ownership is there. They're doing the right things, building out the stadium, adding to what the Dolphins already had there. The fact that we're going to have a grass facility to play on, we're going to have grass and an artificial surface to practice on for any matches that we play that won't be on grass. We're building a world-class organization within a world-class league in what is the world's game. And to be able to do it in my hometown is one of the greatest thrills for me.
Yeah, close to home. Close to home.
Yeah, look, I live in Fort Lauderdale. I have, um, it, with the exception of the time I spent at the University of Georgia, um, I have lived in Broward County almost my entire life, and in those 50 years, I think every place I lived with was within 7 miles of the other. So I literally went to high school, maybe two drivers, if you hit them really, really well from the university. In fact, when I was at high school, when I was in high school at Nova High School, we would look across the street and say that's a university because there were like three buildings, dead grass, and cows. And now it's the largest private institution in the state of Florida, one of the largest private universities in the country. It's a world class um, higher institution of higher learning. The fact that we will be partnering with them and on that campus and building out the facility and the stadium that we are, it's just a great partnership for NSU, for the town of Davie, which is where NSU is actually located, for the Fort Lauderdale community, South Florida in Mass. And when I say South Florida, yes, we play in Fort Lauderdale, we play in Broward County, but the university and the stadium is going to be central to Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County, and going into Martin, and also the West Coast. Fort Myers, and Naples is maybe a little over an hour drive to get to our matches. So I think it's a great central location, right? Just maybe a mile or two off of every single major highway in this area. So it's going to be easy to get to. There's a parking garage, so parking is going to be easy at the stadium. And then, we're going to be all about the fan experience. So we're going to have a fan activation center. We're going to have a great food program. And then on top of it all, we're going to have amazing play on the pitch.
That's amazing. The last question I have for you, Bruce, is what are your thoughts on the 2026 World Cup coming up in the next 2 years?
Look, every 4 years we get to see the best of the best of the best, right? And the fact that it's coming to not just the United States, not just Mexico, but up in your homeland, I think it's going to be really great. As someone who calls Liga MX matches for Univision, we know what the fans are like and what the play is like in Mexico, and for Canada to have matches that they're hosting, and then obviously the United States hosting a lot of matches, including in our backyard at the Hard Rock Stadium, which we talked about at the beginning of this. I think it's just an opportunity for the world to see what the United States, Canada, and Mexico are all about in terms of football. And I think that it is going to be fantastic for every level of soccer in the three countries, specifically in the United States. I think it's going to be a big boost on the men's side at every single level. from MLS through USL Championship, League One, League Two, the other leagues that play in the United States, and then certainly for the women with USL Super League, it's going to bring great attention to us, and it's going to be the fact that and obviously we're getting ahead of ourselves to start talking about the 25-26 season and what that structure is going to be. And I haven't even thought about or even asked what the league's plans will be in terms of when we start versus the World Cup. But if you think about it, we're going to play that World Cup, and then right after the World Cup, we're going to be in full swing in terms of the USL Super League, where the other leagues in the United States are going to be at the end of their season. We're just going to be starting. So I think that great, I used the word opportunities before. We're going to have great opportunities to really piggyback on that. And that's going to be that would be year three, because we're going 24-25 and then 25-26, and then 26-27 would actually be on the heels of the World Cup here. So I think that's an incredible situation. I think that will really fit well into the success of this league, because we'll be starting our third season. The league will be more mature. There will be more teams in the league, and that means there will be more opportunities for women to play professionally in the United States. And it will also mean that more communities in our country that have never had professional sports at all, maybe never had soccer, certainly never had a professional women's team, will have all of those things going on when the world is watching the beautiful game in our three nations.
Exciting times for soccer.
No doubt about it. And I just keep really pinching myself that we now have professional soccer, professional women's soccer in Fort Lauderdale, in South Florida. And the fact that late August is when we get to lace them up and kick it around. Before you know it, you and I are going to be talking, and you'll be down here taking in a game at our stadium, and we're going to look back and we're going to go, hey, wasn't it like a week ago that we did that podcast? So really, everything is moving so quickly. We've got a groundbreaking ceremony coming up mid-May. We're still finalizing the date on that, but that's going to be really exciting, because that's going to make it real. When we put shovels in the ground and we're moving dirt and we're building out the stadium, and we've got the dignitaries coming to that event, we have fans coming to that event, and certainly, our staff at that event, it's going to really make it real. And the media is already starting to cover us, which is fantastic. WSVN just did a story with Dion that aired the other day. And so every day leading up to August is going to be a new story being told. And that means that more and more people are going to become familiar with Fort Lauderdale United. And the more that people find out, the more excited they're getting. And, I just cannot say enough about the organization that I am lucky enough to be a part of.
Amazing. Well, Bruce, I'm glad to have you on. We were able to get it done. Thank you so much for taking the time for being on the One Soccer Nation podcast.
My pleasure. And I'm happy to come on anytime, and I hope you'll have me on right before we lace them up. And then once the season gets started, my job is to be an ambassador for this club. And so I'm happy to be on with you any single time that you want. Anything you need, you just ask for it. And as soon as you come out with one of those One Soccer Nation shirts with the pink logo on there, please send it my way, and I will wear it proudly.
Sounds good. Well, I'm excited to come down soon, meet you, watch a game with you. and talk soccer. So see you soon.
I got a credential with your name on it waiting for you.
Sounds good.
All
Thank
right, man. Thank you so much.